Hi, you're listening to the latest chapter of Tales from the Triverse, my ongoing science fiction fantasy detective serial. So the story so far, former detective Lola Stiles has fallen in with the rebel mages who are causing trouble all over the place, and she's currently on an assignment to retrieve Professor Simova, who is on the run and wanted by the authorities. The Wet Fish. Tapu, 3203, late frostfall. A continual roar filled the wet fish's converted hull, from beam to wooden beam, a cacophonous medley of music, shouting in unfamiliar languages, banging of fists on tables, smashing of glasses, the occasional wet squelch of a landed punch. Considering the somewhat desolate, damp, subsiding village in which it was located, the tavern was a beacon of energy. Clearly nobody wanted to spend time alone here, or in their own homes. Anyone passing through, travelling the river, wanted to keep their stay as brief and pleasant as possible, which invariably meant getting drunk. Lola sidled over to the bar, feeling endlessly self-conscious but reminding herself that nobody cared. No eyes were on her, and everyone had their own agendas without worrying about a slight, non-threatening human. Not for the first time, Lola wished there were a visualist on the team, capable of altering their appearances. If Gina was here, chances were there were other Brulian guards somewhere in the vicinity, also in plain clothes. The bar stool next to Gina was unoccupied, and was human scale. Lola hopped onto it, sliding her legs under the bar, and placing her arms out in front of her. "Don't turn around," she said, not looking at or acknowledging Gina. "Don't look startled. Keep enjoying your drink." In her periphery, she saw Gina jerk to attention and turn her head ever so slightly before catching herself. "Lola," she said, in hushed tones. "What the fuck are you doing here?" "Okay, stay cool. I could ask the same of you." "I'm doing my job," Gina said, through clearly gritted teeth, lifting her drink to her lips. "You're a long way from Brulia." "You have to leave," Gina said, "right now. I'm not the only one here. We have guards all over town." "I don't want any trouble." They were interrupted by the barkeep, who slammed his palm down with a loud thud. "What can I be getting you?" he asked, in heavily accented English, clearly spotting a tourist. Or perhaps English had been adopted as an intermediary language of convenience. "Ale, something strong?" Lola said, trying to look like she belonged. He raised an eyebrow and tilted his head quizzically. "If you say so, Blondie," he said, turning away to the pumps. "Trouble is what you'll get," Gina said. "I should arrest you. If anyone else sees you, I'll have to act or I'll be arrested myself." Lola pulled her coat collar a little higher. "I'm being careful." "You're here, aren't you? That means you're not being careful." "Why are you here?" Lola risked a sideways glance, wanting to see Gina's face at least once. It was a reminder of a simpler time, of what she'd given up when she'd escaped from Brulia. "It's official business. You don't need to know." What's the Brulian City Guard got to do with anything happening in Tapu? We're hundreds of miles from Brulian territory. "Why do you care? Stop talking to me. You need to leave. My squad commander will be checking in soon." Lola's drink was delivered and she paid in coin. "Wow, that is strong," she said, taking a sip. What the hell, it was worth the risk. "Are you here for Simova?" Gina froze, her tankard halfway to her mouth. "How do you know about that?" "I'll take that as a yes," Lola said. "You know he's been falsely accused, just like they did with me." "Do you even know what he's been accused of?" That brought Lola up short. She'd assumed it would be a baseless accusation of corruption, or of hoarding university finances, or of working with a rival city-state, or trading knowledge through the portals, but she didn't know. That hadn't been in the briefing. They'd been told to pick him up, but not precisely why he was on the run in the first place. "You don't know, do you?" Gina shook her head slightly, subtle enough that nobody sat further away would notice. "He'd been taking advantage of the younger students, male and female, for years. When it came out, he attacked one of the senior staff and ran. It was Lola's turn to shake her head. Sounds like bullshit. No, I know him. I've spoken to him. Been to his lectures. That's not him. The sound of a tired laugh from Gina. Whatever happened to believing the victim? Taking this kind of abuse seriously? That's what you always told me, in your oh-so-patronising mid-earther way. She had a point. More than one, in fact. Right, but it's also innocent until proven guilty, and I've seen Brullian justice in action. It's arrest and throw away the key, if the suspect is unfortunate enough to survive the arrest. That's unfair, and you know it. Gina sighed. Point is, I know you. Knew you. I know you didn't do what they said. This Samovar, I don't know him. I've heard of him, heard of people like him, powerful people high up in the university, behaving badly. It wouldn't be a surprise. You have to trust me on this one. No, Gina said, pushing her empty tankard across the bar. That's not how this works, Lola, and I'm not in charge of this assignment. I couldn't call it off if I wanted to. She paused, but spoke again before Lola could respond. You still haven't told me how you knew about this, that Samovar was on the move, and that he'd be here. I have contacts? Bullshit, Gina said. Before you left Brullia, you had nothing outside of the city. This is the princess, isn't it? Lola risked a glance, just in time to see Gina's eyes narrow. No, it's more than that, the Brullian guard said, her jaw set. Are you in with the insurgency? Tell me you're not. She already knew the answer, of course, or she wouldn't have asked the question. Gina had always been more clever than most of the city guards, and would have made a fine detective if the concept had existed in Brullia. Still, Lola wasn't in a position to start explaining the whole story. I can't say, but I'm leaving with Samovar. Shit, I knew it. How did you fall in with that lot? They're terrorists, you know that, right? You heard what they did in Blue Towers, what they did to the city council. They have cells everywhere, one city-state at a time. They're spreading chaos. Lola had heard some of it, from Christian's point of view. The situation on Palinor was too complex, too layered to ever get to the full truth. Lola smiled, a sad, resigned smile. Don't you wish we could have just lived normally? Normal? Gina spat the word. What is that? I don't know, Lola said. I wish things were simpler. That's not real life. You need to get out, Lola, of whatever you've got yourself into. It's going to get you killed. You'd have been better off in a Brullian jail. I beg to differ. Fine, Gina said, but you've got about 30 seconds to get out of here. Until what? You arrest me? Gina leaned over the bar, her head lowering. Then she took a deep breath. Listen, if you're with them, if you're with the people going around blowing up markets and deposing elected leaders, then all bets are off. If it's between you and some poor family trying to buy food for their table, then, Lola, you are going down. The conversation wasn't going the way Lola had wanted. She was making matters worse. I don't want any of this. Your comrades are the ones who chased me out of town. You're the ones who blindly follow orders and believe everything you're told. You still have a choice of who you hold up with, Gina said, her voice coated in anger. You've got choices. You can choose to leave Tapu right now. I've got a job to do. It might help my friends back home. I need to see it through. Then this might be the last time we talk, and I would not feel good about that. This conversation, Lola said, is one more than I thought we'd have. One too many, Gina said, turning on the stool and standing. You should never have come here, Lola Stiles. Thanks for listening. You can leave a comment and subscribe and find out a lot more over on the newsletter version at simonkjones.substack.com.